Hey guys, welcome to Berean Babes. We are Theology Matters. I'm your host, Vali Chikuni. Happy Friday to you guys, and thank you for folks watching on Facebook and on Twitter. We welcome you to the live stream. All right, I see you, Mr. Chicken Grease. Thank you for stopping by. You enjoy your Friday. All right, so today we actually have Ruslan was on the lead attorney. So, I mean, the whole video was about like 5 hours. It's a very long video. And he did a response to it. So today we're going to look into those things and just how us as Christians, whenever we're on our platform, how can we do apologetics in that regard? There's always an opportunity to share the gospel. And I know it's intense. We're not able to do it all the time for one reason or the other. But every time we have an opportunity, it's good. So whatever benefit you can benefit from this, it'll be good. I see you, Katie. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, like that video, I mean, there's a lot of content. There's a lot of stuff that just wasn't kosher. So we're going to get into it. So without further ado, let's get in. You know, today is Friday. I know it's a busy day. People have commitments. So, but we'll carry on. All right. So I want to share the first thing that was said. So let's hear in. This is Ruslan responding to the video that he did. So I mean, like I think he was speeding it up, but you'll be able to catch what he's saying. So let's get it in.
An expert in it and actually practice it, because you won't understand. Not talking about you, but just people in general won't understand what they're looking at.
Am I being gaslit?
I would never ever agree that the disparity in the primary physical custody awards that you see in this nation is because
That's a very simple question. I'm the same person. I give you my word. We show up. We break bread. I don't talk about you behind your back. I don't cheat on you.
Do you lie?
Okay, so that's the beginning of the introduction, the response that Ruslan was doing. So already, he's saying that he's being gaslit. But ladies and gentlemen, it's you guys, you're going to make your own informed opinion. If you think that everything that went down is him being, like, you know, if the lead attorney was gaslighting him. I don't know much about the attorney myself. This was my first time watching him. So he does have a very big channel. A lot of people do know him. So now we're going to listen to this part over here before I play it. So he is responding to his own video. Okay. So this is the beginning of what happened. So after this one, then I'm going to present the other clip where Ruslan has that opportunity to be able to say what he's saying now. So just like, why didn't you say this when you're on the platform? So why are you doing this now? So buckle up. Good to see you, Harrison Family Values. Nice seeing you, Brother Eric. You actually did a very good video. So like when it's done, I'll link everything over here. So now let's listen in the introduction of similar sins compared to the Holocaust. Brace yourself.
He's acting like this is the craziest concept ever.
Your character should improve as you continue living a life of restraint and truth.
There's a saying that says that doing X builds character.
Yes.
So based off of that, even just age-old saying,
right.
Everyone should understand that, yes, your character can change. But on the surface level, this sounds crazy, Ruslan.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
fair.
Do you not improve as a person? Do you not chisel yourself away into the type of person that can be optimal to lead?
So when did you become a man of integrity? At what age?
30s.
I love how you give him an age. Like, yeah.
when I had my first kid, really locked in. I became congruent with my values.
And by the way, pause it. I'm a late bloomer, man.
Yeah.
If you guys know anything about my testimony, like I'll be 100% because of the cheating for my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
That jacked up most of my childhood. That then led me to make really stupid decisions.
So after the age of 30, you never lied?
I can't think of something that I've lied about.
How old are you?
I'm 38.
So in 8 years, you've never lied one time.
I don't know if I've never lied one
Guys,
time.
listen, but you're a man of integrity.
We're getting into the minutia. But to his point, this is masterfully done. He did a great job here.
And he walked you into a statement
Yes.
of you haven't lied in 8 years.
And what were we talking?
So you see what's going on over here. Ruslan is critiquing himself, but what we already know, he said that he's never lied for 8 years. So now that he is on his platform in his whatever comfort zone, he wants to correct the record, and then he's saying the attorney did a good job. Like, no, whatever attorney did, it's besides the point. What you're saying, is that the truth? Instead of using this opportunity to say, you know what, I shouldn't have said that. That was a lie. No, he didn't do that. So he's pretty much doubled down. So then this time around, he has his Robin Hood, his sidekick on the side, supporting the whole thing. So brace yourself, ladies and gentlemen.
Talking about the conversation was about what?
Cheating.
And
Yeah.
if you could be a person of integrity and be a cheater. He switched the conversation. I don't remember the last time I told a lie, man.
No, I'm just asking you. You say that a person of integrity does not lie.
Correct.
And you've been a person of integrity for 8 years.
For a couple years, yes. I've been
A couple or 8? A couple is 2.
We'll call it 8. 8.
So in 8 years, you have not lied one time.
I don't remember.
Guys, like,
I don't remember. I don't remember
guys.
lying. I don't remember.
So I don't know why he means, like, you can't be, just because you're a man of integrity, that doesn't mean that you're not going to lie. It's what you do after that. People who own up their mistake, people who who take ownership of everything, whatever they've done, right? That's what it shows. Like, oh wow, you honor your word, you do all those things. So if Ruslan is telling us, as a Christian, by the way, that he's never lied, he hasn't lied for 8 years, then he's reached perfection, I might say. So now the example that he decides to bring in.
Remember, I don't remember that. Okay, so you're talking about
This
the lie.
is great.
I think you can cheat on your spouse and be an excellent parent at the same time.
Can you cheat on your spouse and be an excellent human?
What is an excellent human? We
A
can't.
solid, stable, stand-up individual you would want to do business with. Would you want to do business with someone that you know is perpetually cheating on their wife?
I have
Would you want to partner
absolutely
with
done business with people. Absolutely
Okay,
done
well, it's just
it.
different.
Would you partner with someone who's a liar?
No, someone that's a perpetual liar. Absolutely not.
No, I didn't say perpetual. You're adding words.
Okay.
Would you partner with someone who is a liar?
You're
Guys, this is what I'm saying.
Back up. Because what you're doing is you're saying a lie as a broad generality, and we both.
You're
know
saying
this.
cheating.
I'm saying there's a difference between my mother coming over on Christmas and her wearing an outfit that I don't particularly find interesting, and me not telling to her face that, yeah, that doesn't really look good on you. That is not the same thing as lying to your wife. That is not the same thing as lying to your employer. So I think you're conflating, and you're great at what you do, so I know what you're doing, but I think you're conflating the two. Now when we're talking about cheating, tongue, rubbing on a booty, all of that is cheating, and it's completely out of pocket. Now, there may be different consequences, and every relationship may be different. Some people got open relationships, but it's all the same thing. And let's
So Brother Ruslan just introduced categories of cheating, as you can see. Not even one time did he just acknowledge, like, you know what? Thou shalt not lie. Nothing. So he is operating just as a secular person right now, and it's even worse. Because the attorney, he's not a believer. Okay, he's an unbeliever. And he's the one who is actually be like, no, dude, you have lied. Like, just pressing him on that one. So this is like the opposite. If you didn't know this too, you'd think the lead attorney might be the Christian and Ruslan is not, because he's the one who's saying that he hasn't lied for 8 years. But buckle up.
Let's not be disingenuous and act like a white lie to protect somebody's feelings because you don't really want to tell them that their outfit is trash is the same as lying to your wife. You know that's not the same thing. We know that's not the same thing.
So now you have different categories of lies. Is that what you're saying?
We know there's different categories of lies. Just
Okay,
like
which lies do you tell most? Like, tell us the category of lies that you tell.
I will omit stuff from I've omitted stuff from
No,
family.
not omissions. You keep guys.
That's
I
a
don't know
lie.
why it's so
Omission is a lie.
hard.
How is
Then
omission
call it a
not a
lie. Just call it a lie.
Okay, that's a lie.
You called it omission.
Is omission not a lie?
Okay, no. So he said,
Uh-huh.
what kind of lies? Categorize the type of lies. So you just categorize the type of lie that you don't think is
Yes.
what the lie we're talking
Yes.
about.
Can I give you another example of a type of lie that I think is justified?
Yes.
Hiding Jewish people during the Holocaust in your freaking basement.
Don't lie. Stop it, Ruslan.
So we have to acknowledge that all lies are not the same lie.
He says, what type of lies have you said? Right.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. According to Ruslan, there is different categories of lies. And then he had the audacity to use, the German people hiding Jewish people during the Holocaust. Ladies and gentlemen, who is, right now, right? what standard are we using to call out that whatever Ruslan is saying is not true? Ruslan is not the standard. So what was going on like in the during the Holocaust? Like, this was Hitler, right? Killing killing Jews. So what allegiance did these guys have? Was it to Hitler or to God himself? So you either give your allegiance to Hitler or you give it to God. So by you hiding those Jews, you are honoring God, because Hitler is murdering people. Thou shalt not kill. So this is not, and I don't even understand how Ruslan went from whatever he's saying to arrive to a place where he's comparing this situation pretty much like to the Holocaust. Not only that, we have the story, what happened, the midwives, right? The midwives, told Pharaoh, these people are so strong to give birth, whatever, because they knew they're going to be killed. So if somebody is lying in that regard, we understand it, like, okay, I understand what it means, whatever is lying, but it's just like, what's behind it? What is the motive? Why did they do what they did? Did they honor God in doing that? The answer is yes, they honor God in doing that. After all, everybody is a sinner, right? So there's things that we're going to do that are sinful because we live in a foreign world. So you tell me, by Ruslan saying that he hasn't lied for 8 years, who exactly is he honoring? So let's listen into the, I don't know who the other gentleman is, but he appears on the show quite often.
Right.
Yeah.
And you say lies
of omission.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he said, omitting thing is not a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go, cool, then we agree. I haven't lied in 8 years.
Said omitting something that you don't want to tell somebody because you don't want to hurt their feelings. That's technically a lie. We all do that. Do we not?
I don't think that's technically a lie.
Boom. So he said, I don't think that's technically a lie, even though in your book you consider that a lie.
Yeah.
Technically, his title is right.
Mm-hmm. I technically
haven't lied
in years. Hello, one time fee.
Although regardless, that's still a crazy claim that you haven't had.
So now we have technical. So that was it. So biblical. So this is, I don't know what a technical lie looks like. And what a lie, I have no idea. But this is in Ruslan books. Even his friend there actually said, like, oh, even though like in your book, that's not technically a lie, whatever that means. Okay. But if this is the standard that we are applying as Christians, and we are hiding behind the technicalities, who is going to make it to heaven by virtue of a technicality? Who is going to heaven by virtue of technicality? So I do not understand how he arrived to a point where he can actually say that it's a technical issue. I don't get it. I don't get it why he can say that it's a technical issue. So I have scripture over here. This is Proverbs 8:13. The fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. Pride and arrogance and the way of evil and perverted speech I hate. So this is God speaking that he hates pride and arrogance. So this is exactly what we just witnessed over here, experienced from Ruslan. And that was not all. So that was like the, this is exactly what happened at the beginning. So I want to share this with you guys before I do this one, before I play this one. This is what I just shared with you guys. That's what happened during this this encounter over here. I'm about to play it so you get the whole picture. But what do we have right now? We pretty much have Ruslan, who is saying he hasn't lied for 8 years. We know that's a lie. Now he's comparing the lie that he lied on the platform. It's a category of like, just like the Holocaust. And then his friend brings it, oh, technically. Okay? So what happens in court? Like the case is thrown out. You know what I mean? You'll be like, oh, you're not going to sentence somebody because somebody was out of technicality. Right? Why would they do that? Because they don't want to punish an innocent person if the case wasn't proved properly. However, when these lawyers are going out there, do you think they say like, oh, did you win the case? I won it. Technically, I won it. Just like, no, you won the case, you won the case. Are you lying? Yes, I'm lying. Oh, no, technically, I'm lying. By what standard are you applying this extra thing? Thou shalt not lie has no clause to it. But this is what happens. I don't understand. He had an opportunity to just correct the record, but he doubled down. So now this is the whole, this is the video, how things happened, okay? Shout out to Jason. He did a good job already. Eric did a good job already on this one. Thank you guys for stopping by. Nice to see you with a pause. That's very nice seeing you guys. Shout out to folks in the chat. So now let's get it in from the beginning, how this thing all went down. Brace yourself.
Was a mess. I asked this chat, if who they thought won. Was it Hafiz? Was it just pearly things? Or did nobody win? And, this chat was pretty consistent that nobody won. But, that doesn't, maybe this chat is a little bit biased against Hafiz, the interactions that he's had. I'm not sure where you and I would disagree. I know we would have some fundamental disagreements, some big disagreements, or not necessarily disagreements, but just different worldviews when it comes to religion. Sure. Because, I actually mentioned this before. There was a content creator by the name of, Dr. Thunder. I think that's the name. And Dr. Thunder was critiquing one of my streams or something, and he was saying how he didn't agree with me. And for the first things out of his mouth, he was like, "Well, I don't agree with TLA because as a Christian, blah. And I always say, listen, guys, if you ever want me to tap out of any conversation, like just
I'm playing it at two speed. You guys, is it just fine? If it's too fast, let me know. I can adjust it. If the 2 speed is fine, it's okay.
Just start off by saying as a Christian.
Okay, fair enough. I want to say as a Christian or quote the Bible.
Yeah, because I don't know my Bible. I've been to church since 2017. It's like I can't do anything about it. I do know some books, but it's the law books. Yeah. And so when people want to talk to me about the Book of Psalms or whatever it is, I can't do anything with this. So no, that's I always let you guys. Y'all got it. But in terms of helping men, even though we might be coming from different places, we might arrive at the same conclusions. Yeah. I do think it's interesting though. So you debated Rolla. Have you debated or had any?
Okay, I've reduced it to 175. So this was the introduction, how things happened. So we should be okay now.
And he's trying to help other black men. Man, Big Shirley gonna get it with the football. Shout out to Captain Cisco. Says, I want to see Lee sit down with
Ruslan. I'm originally from Azerbaijan, Baku, which is just north of Iran. Me and my family came out as refugees in the early 90s, grew up in Southeast San Diego, predominantly black and brown neighborhood, only refugee white kid, speaking Russian as my first language. Wow. Got into hip hop music, was doing that professionally for a while, got married in 2008 and been married 15 years, 2 amazing kids, and I'm still a resident of San Diego County. I'm in North County, San Diego now. So been doing YouTube full time for 2 years. That's
awesome.
Elevator pitch.
I love it. That is amazing. We are actually.
Hold on, you guys. I don't think. What am I doing? Can you guys see? You guys can only see me? I don't understand why I haven't been... Okay, sorry. Okay, I'm going to slow down. Bear with me, guys. I'm watching the thing over here, but you guys are not able to see. So, all right, let's do it. All right. Okay, this is right here. And share it. Okay, so we're starting all over now, okay?
We're having our meetup in San Diego.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow.
January 21st, January 22nd. We'll be down at Fogo, and then also we're doing this type of escape room thing down there. This will be my first time in San Diego. That's where all you rich people live, right? The sun and all of that, man.
You based in Atlanta or Florida?
Yes, Atlanta. Yeah. So that's excellent. And so kind of people were saying that we should talk, we should have a debate, and so kind of what's your stance, I guess, on the red pill community and the Manosphere, and then if you want to talk to us a little bit about how you saw the Hafiz and just pearly things, that latest interaction.
Yeah. So my primary niche is coming from the faith space. So that's the type of content we do. So, similar to kind of what you do, current events, commentary, but from a faith-based follower of Jesus perspective. I've been in the Lord for 20 years now. And so that's kind of the perspective. Now, the red pill stuff, I kind of got hit just through my audience, which is very diverse, asking me, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about this? And then about 2 years ago, I kind of walked into this entire world of the Manosphere and got connected with Hafiz. And that's when he was kind of more red pill adjacent, they would say. And so I just debated Rollo back in July on Valuetainment Money. I've been on there a couple of times. But so I'm kind of coming from the same perspective as Hafiz, a bit more faith-centered. Our views are very similar. I think that one of the easiest ways you can,
Okay, so this was at the beginning. He went on his show, so he's giving the introduction. Okay, so but what he said at the introduction here is very important. And he has already told us that it's from the faith, but he doesn't want to, clarify that. So sorry about the debacle that happened, but Let's continue.
identifies as like purple pill. Like I don't know if there's a category I place my, I mean, got Jesus pill ultimately, but yeah.
Jesus, man, I love it. Oh.
Yeah. So I think from everything I've heard you talk about, with you being pretty consistent against the goofiness from Fresh and Fit, with you being consistent about the nuclear family, you being consistent about marriage, and going into it knowing all the details, right? I'm not against prenups. I recommend men, if they're independently wealthy, go get a prenup, you know. And so it sounds like we agree on a whole lot. I think the Hafiz Pearly things, I think was, I mean, I personally feel like he completely washed her and pulling her card and showing that she didn't really know like the beneath any of the points she was making. She said stuff, and then he would actually pull up slides. And so it was similar in terms of, you know, me and Rollo going back and forth. He won't debate me, by the way. He'd read part 2 and just kind of went dark. And
Okay, so this guy, the lead attorney, he's a divorce lawyer. He's retired. So Ruslan is now convinced that, you know, prenup, right? It's fine for people to be doing prenup. I very much differ with that for Christians. Just because people in the secular culture are doing it, that doesn't mean that Christians should be doing it. Because if you're married, husband and wife, whatever you own it together. And genuine believers will do anything in their power not to separate, right? Because we know God hates divorce. So the idea, like, you know, having these, the prenups always has to do, it's very materialistic, and it has to do something to do with money. So I'm very weary for Christians promoting that. Just because it's normal in the culture, that doesn't mean that it's fine for us Christians to be entering in things like that. But let's continue.
you know, Sausage tried to set it up, and he doesn't want to have a part 2 with me. So
Really?
yeah, which is sad because Rollo also claims to be a follower of Jesus, which is, I mean, that's another can of worms. But so I would reference people back to that specific debate with me and Rollo, which just happened in July, I think. But yes, I guess I don't even know where me and you disagree like that. Like that's what I'm trying to figure out. It's not women sometimes is accurate, sometimes it's exaggeration by, and it ultimately it's place and going up your notch, kind of less not to become the type of competent priest, provider, protector of their home. Instead, they kind of go out and do all the goofiness we see on the Fresh and Fits. Okay. I believe that's where not Ross, but that's where coming from is like, hey, if ultimately we're talking about men and what is optimal and best for men, then we should be wanting to reestablish the nuclear family. We should be wanting to decrease how many kids are had out of wedlock, and that's across the board, white, black, all types of kids being born out of wedlock, right? That is why I believe we should be stirring men. And the red people say, well, we don't do prescriptions, we're praxology, so on and so forth. And so I think that is, and so the information is like, how do we give the most accurate, reasonable picture of what healthy, stable families are?
Yeah, I don't think many people at all disagree that nuclear families are a good thing, or that women are not, great things, or relationships. The issue is, it's not the nuclear family. So I hear you talk about the nuclear family, but I don't think the nuclear family has ever been the problem. Okay. It's the environment in which the nuclear family exists. And that environment in which the nuclear family exists is a legal framework that is detrimental to one of the members of that nuclear family. Okay. So it's one thing to say, oh, well,
You see, what this attorney is saying is not true, but Ruslan is agreeing with every point. What does he mean that an optimal environment? What does that what does that mean? We know that, okay, a nuclear family, absolutely perfect, right? We want kids to grow up in that particular family. However, every time he's talking about like environment, they're talking about it has to do with it's all material. Like, you gotta be rich, you gotta have money, you gotta have all these particular things. There's nothing wrong having money, there's nothing wrong being rich. But what message would you be giving to people who are poor? What message will you be giving people who are in Africa, who are not making 100K a month? So can they have, can they raise children? Do they have families? And not only that, who defines what a family is? We know this is, marriage is God's idea, right? Family is God's idea. So Ruslan is just imbibing, drinking everything what this guy is saying, even though it's not true. Because he says nuclear family, yes, is good, but environment, okay? So, if it's bad environment, we do not advocate for a bad environment, but that's not what they mean. They're not talking about like, oh, nuclear. If a nuclear family, mommy and daddy are there, what do they mean by bad environment? It's always something to do with it's all material things. It's not talking about like, oh, you know what? They are living under the bridge. They are homeless. That's not a good environment to be raising kids. None of that. It's the other way. So I don't understand how Ruslan is just co-signing everything that this guy is saying. And when he did his response to this guy, he cherry picked what he wanted to respond and then enter the Holocaust situation we had. But let's continue. Nuclear
families are so important, but we need to make a distinction that nuclear families are not productive in all environments. If you take a mother and a father and a child and put them, in the ocean under, 1,000 feet of water, they're going to die. Why? Because it's the wrong environment.
Okay.
If you take a nuclear family and put them on the moon with no spacesuits, what's going to happen? The nuclear family is going to get destroyed. Why? Because it's the wrong environment. A lot of the red pill people are saying there's nothing wrong with the nuclear family, but look at the legal framework that is the environment.
Okay.
That legal framework incentivizes behavior, which is not healthy, right? And it rewards certain people for doing certain things, and punishes people based on unfair attributes, and it's not a healthy environment. So no one is saying that the nuclear family is bad. And so we can, I think when you say that, nuclear family is good, I don't think it's a problem. It's the environment.
Give me a specific example of what you mean by the environment, so that I'm tracking along. Because you said moon, and then you said underwater.
Well,
give me something.
The legal environment.
Okay. I know you're the attorney, so that's why I'm asking. So
yeah. So all right. So let's take me for example. Let's say that I was a 35-year-old accountant, and I have a wife, and she's 33, and we got a couple of kids, and then she decides to divorce me. Well, up until very recently, like this year, in Georgia, and this is the way it is across the majority of states in this country. If she decides to divorce me, then I lose my 2 kids. The same 2 kids that came out of my ball sack. They're half my DNA, half my chromosomes. But
So, Ruslan had an opportunity right here to tell him that's not what marriage is. Just because people are divorcing left and right out in the world, that's a sinful thing. But that doesn't mean we should give up the institution of marriage. So just because there's some evil things that are going on, we can't be imbibing to those ideas. So these are cultural things that have definitely influenced Christians, and Ruslan is being taken captive as one of them. He should have defended the idea he should have defended marriage, and just explain like, okay, these things are happening. People, let's identify what are the reasons, right? If you marry an equally yoked, are the people Christians? Just because somebody says they're Christian, that doesn't mean they're Christians. So these numbers, where are they coming from? So let's continue. Thank you, David, for the super chat.
I get to see them, a quarter of the time, or maybe 30% of the time. Now, why is it? I'm just a good guy. Why is it that I do not get shared custody of my kids? Why is it I think on Valuetainment, Adam pointed out that 90% of women get primary custody of the kids? That is what I'm telling you, Ruslan, is an unfair and a toxic environment. When men can have their kids snatched away, when a woman decides to snap her fingers and come hires me. Let me tell you something. A woman comes hires me, I'm gonna get her fucking kids for her, right? But that's not because I'm such a great attorney. That's just because that's generally how it is in this country. And so go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I can go. Please cut me off.
Okay,
I can go forever. Please do.
When you do law, are you usually in the family courts, and are you usually on the side of representing the man or the woman? Because I'm also not familiar with kind of the minutia of what you do day to day.
Absolutely. I'm a retired attorney. I practiced 20 years doing family law, and I represented both sides. In fact, I represented everyone. Everyone that you can think of in a family that has ties to family law, divorce law. I represented countless husbands. I represented countless wives. I've represented children. I'm a guardian ad litem. So that's an attorney for children down here in the state of Georgia. That's what we call them, guardian ad litem. So I represented 17-year-olds. I represented 7-year-olds. I represented 7-month-olds that I've held in my hand. Right. I represented grandparents trying to take control of these kids from their parents who aren't worth shit. Right. So I represented the grandparents, the kids, the husbands, and the wives, like everybody involved. So that's where I'm coming from.
So that's helpful. So I think, and so do you mind if I push back a little bit?
No, absolutely.
Okay. So from me kind of digging into this and also being close to single fathers who I've seen repeatedly get 100% of the custody. That's part me being anecdotal, right? But then the flip side of just kind of peeling away at all of the data. From the research I've done, I could send you all the citations and all the references if you like.
So Ruslan actually asking the attorney, can I push back whatsoever? You have already given this guy to tell you what a family should be, what a marriage should be. Like, you cannot allow the bad examples of people divorcing, of bad marriages, to define what marriage is, because we know that's not what marriage is. So right now you have, look at Hollywood. These people are successful, they have money, they have everything, but they're divorcing each other left and right. So if you want to talk about the picture of what a marriage is, the last thing you want to use as example is Hollywood, is the culture. So Ruslan should have come in like, those are the things that are happening for people who don't have their minds renewed. So obviously they don't take marriage serious. They just think it's just whatever. I don't know, number 6, 7, 0 on the 7th husband or 6th husband. She's successful. She has money. She's gotten married to all the rich people. But why can't she keep a husband? Why can't she stay married? What's wrong? Because they're in the perfect environment, in Hollywood, by cultural standards. So I don't understand how Ruslan is going to just give a pass. Not only that, the attorney over here, he's not married himself, He's not married. He doesn't want to get married. That's fine. He's an unbeliever, so he's going to behave accordingly. But Ruslan is co-signing, throwing in under the bus the marriage. So let's continue.
It seems that only about 1 of all custody cases ever actually make it to a judge. that the vast majority of these cases, approximately 90% are 91%, and I could pull up the study for you if you like, are done away with before a judge has ever seen it. He's just doing it as a formal technicality. And when you peel away even further at that,
let me just jump in to clear up something. Did you say that only one? I thought you said only 1.5% make it before a judge, but then you said 91% don't make it before a judge.
Yeah. You want me to read the exact citation? Would that be easier?
I didn't understand the math.
Yeah. So 90% never go to a court. It's completely dealt with in mediation. The remaining of it, 3.5% is dealt with and a judge signs off on it, and 1.5 actually go before a judge and the judge decides on where the children are placed. So out of all of the cases, only 1.5% go to the judge.
You mean like in a trial?
In a trial, correct.
Okay.
And so out of those, what they found is that 80% of custody cases are settled by the parents without any outside assistance. Another 11% are settled with mediation, and another 5.2% of custody cases are decided upon by the parents after custody evaluation is completed. Only 3.5% of cases are heard by a judge, and 2.2, this just goes down and down. And then basically what they found out is that when the fathers actually escalate the cases to the judge, they actually end up getting more custody, at the very least 50-50, a lot of times more than 50-50, when it's escalated to the point of going for it. The issue seems to be is that a lot of fathers don't escalate it legally. They just go for whatever's presented to them. They don't fight for the custody. And like I said, no, this is speaking anecdotally, when men actually fight, they get it. I've seen two friends of mine personally fight, get 100% custody. There weren't drugs involved, there wasn't alcohol involved, there was nothing like that, get 100% sole custody. And so why does it default to the mother? Because usually the mother is the primary care provider. But if you have situations where the man is the primary care provider, the empirical evidence says the opposite. The empirical evidence says that when men escalate, the further they escalate it legally, the more likely they are to get full or at least 50% custody.
Generally, and I don't want to tie myself down to the numbers, but generally that is true. And there's a great reason for that. And this is why it's important to be an expert in it and actually practice it, because you won't understand, not talking about you, but just people in general won't understand what they're looking at. They won't understand why. So but that's going to take, a couple minutes to explain it. I want to explain it to you because I want everybody to know why it is that men in general don't fight for custody, and to be honest, why they shouldn't, right? Okay. But I do want to say something about, your anecdotal two cases, I think a couple of cases where you said that the man got 100% and the women weren't on drugs or anything. Mm-hmm. And that is not possible unless the woman signed over the rights. And so,
yeah, I mean, eventually they agreed to it because it kept escalating.
Oh, well, I mean, Ruslan, if the woman...
I'm saying the times I've seen men escalate it, I'm using anecdotal, my personal story, and then I'm also referencing the data. When I've seen...
Why do you have to use there's nothing wrong using a personal story, right? But the issue they're talking about here is divorce that's happening, the marriage issue, right? That's the subject that they're having over here. So Ruslan is talking to somebody who is an attorney. That's his field. That's what he does, okay? So, as a Christian, because he was invited over here, he's spending time defending things that he shouldn't be defending. Like you acknowledge, like, yes, there is divorce that's happening in our culture, but guess what? I am a Christian. I don't believe in divorce. People who love each other and they honor God in their marriage, they're not going to find themselves in this particular situation, okay? These situations are happening. Look at the majority of people it's happening from. You see what I'm saying? Like, held marriage in a higher standard. If you have a deep understanding of what marriage is, a biblical view of what marriage is, you're not going to be entertaining what Ruslan is saying here or what the attorney is saying over here. So I don't know, like, if he even has that idea that marriage is rooted in scripture and you can defend it as such. So that way he didn't have to put himself in this situation. But remember at the beginning, he already gave up his sword, right? Because they agreed that, oh, no, I'm not going to be like a Christian whatsoever. So all this is happening because he's throwing out their statistics, right? Like, yeah, we know the legal system is jacked up. But what is the issue there? What's the issue? So, but let's continue listening in. I see you guys in the
They've
chat.
gotten 100% of the custody.
All right.
Thank you,
close friends, best friends have
Jumanjo.
been really messy divorces that walked away with both of their kids because they were the primary care providers and because they fought for their kids.
Because you said the women signed over.
Yeah, at some point.
Exactly.
At one point, the judge made the call. With one situation, the mother signed over. The other situation, the judge made the call. He escalated it all the way, took it to court, and the judge made the call, and he got 100% custody.
Okay, because I thought you just said that in both cases.
Two cases. One case, the mother signed over. The other case, my friend took it all the way to the court system, and the judge gave him 100% custody. And I know these are anecdotal. That's why.
No, they're very important. They're very important. So I'm glad that you bring them up because they illustrate my point.
Okay.
And this is something that's very counterintuitive. Guys, most divorce attorneys will tell men not to fight for their children.
Why?
Because most men, if they fight for their children, will not get their children. This is very complex, guys. So let me tell you something about a divorce case. Divorce cases most divorce cases are fairly cheap, relatively speaking. I mean, it's not these Dr. Dre types of divorces, right?
Sure.
Most divorces you can get resolved for under 15 grand. You can. There's one type of case that you can never get resolved for 15 grand. It is the most expensive type of case that a regular person is going to have. And that type of case is a custody battle. Mm-hmm. And when you talk about custody battles, those things can get easily 35, 50, 75, 115. Now, imagine you're a man and you've got four credit cards. And you come to me and you say, Lee, listen, I make $60,000 a year, but I want to fight for my two kids. and you're going to tell me the facts of your case, and you got a little something. You got some arguments. But it's going to be a real battle because the judges are biased against men. And so we're going to have to put up a ton of evidence. What are we going to have to put up? Well, we got to do discovery. That's going to cost you 5, 10, 15,000. We got to take a deposition. But then we also need to get the kids some counseling. And we need to get some experts on the case. We need to get the psychiatrist. We need to get the kids evaluated. We need all their reports. We need for these experts to show up to court. And so you can make $60,000 a year, and I can run up your bill to 80 grand, which you cannot afford. So I have to tell you, I have to say, listen, you got a little something. But if I had to say whether you're going to win or lose, I don't think it's 50%. There are attorneys who will tell you, listen, pay me the 80,000, just put it all on all your credit cards, and I'm really going to try, and we're probably going to win. And what happens when you lose? They're going to look at you and say, well, we tried. We gave it the college try. Then they're going to take their 80 grand.
Okay, so you see, the lawyer is explaining this is his field, right? But if you, like, why are you, not even at what time would he, I mean, he's going to do that, I understand it. But to me, Ruslan should have been like, okay, so why is that the solution that you're bringing to the table? Okay, like there's people who've been going down divorce route, but somebody intervened in their life and they changed their mind. They didn't get divorced. So these are the things that Ruslan could have used this opportunity at least to plug in the gospel, to share like, okay, these things are happening in the culture, but do you know what the solution is? Okay, the amount of money is not going to solve out these issues, right? We know the solution is the word of God, the gospel. We need the people's minds to be changed. That's the only solution that's there. But Ruslan, he didn't even suggest that. So the world problems, you apply world solutions, that's exactly where you're going to end up. But let's continue.
The 80 grand you pay them, and they're going to fix their house and put their kids through a couple of semesters of college. Good attorneys don't do that. Good attorneys do the opposite. Good attorneys say, listen, what's going to happen when I start charging this 80 grand? You get up to 30 grand, and you're going to come to me and tell me, you're going to say, Lee, I ain't got no money. What am I going to do? You know what I'm going to do, Ruslan? I'm going to drop you as a fucking client because I don't work for free. So now I've got your 30 grand, but your trial isn't going to come for a year and a half. That means you got to get up another 30 grand. You got to get on another attorney's plan to pay for the case. So we attorneys tell you, listen, do not fight for custody if you cannot afford to do it. And a custody case is it's one of the most expensive cases that a man will ever have, a normal man, not some NBA player or something like that. And so a lot of times it comes down to men, and men have tried. You never hear about the man who spends $75,000 and then they lose, because what happens when they lose the $75,000? Now I've got their $75,000, and now guess what? They have to turn around and pay child support. You got to turn around and pay. With what money, right? Because I've already cleaned out their life savings. So good attorneys will say, listen, instead of doing this whole $75,000 thing, what I can do is try to fight to get the most visitation that I can. And most fathers are like, okay, because I can't afford to enter into an unfair trial, lose, and then turn around and pay child support money with money that I just don't have. Now, what's interesting? The interesting thing you say is the more the man gets closer to court, the more the man has opportunities to win. Why is that? Do you know why that is? Because if I'm representing a husband, there are cases where I'm like, no, fuck this lady. We're going to get these kids. She's neglecting them. She's not taking care of them. She's doing this. She's touching them. She's not doing the things that she's supposed to do. We have a good case. You're like, oh, I don't know. No, let's go to court. The cases that go to court are the strongest cases. Right. You're thinking that the cases that go to court are equally strong as the cases that don't, and that's where you're missing. The cases that actually get to the trial, those are the cases that the men have the best chances of winning. So you're looking at the cream of the crop and assuming that the cream of the crop is reflective of the base of the pyramid. It's reflective of all the other cases. Now, you wouldn't know that, right? Because you're just looking at the numbers. The numbers don't tell you which are the strongest cases and which are the weakest cases.
Right. Well, assuming that the strongest cases, the men are even acting towards wanting custody, 50-50 custody or full custody. That's assuming that in the bottom 90% or the bottom 99% that never see a judge, that there's men there that want it, but you're saying they're getting legal advice saying they don't want it. My buddies who went through this process didn't have attorneys. They just went through it and fought in the court system on their own behalf, right? So we agreed that the vast majority of these cases never even make it before a judge. The ones that do make it before a judge, the man has the higher shot in winning, right? And so you're saying, but you wouldn't give them that sort of advice. And I would say, well, why not? Why not give them that sort of advice? And do they always need an attorney in a situation like this? When, again, and this is me being honest with you, I'm saying I've seen it anecdotally play out where brothers didn't have attorneys. They went in, they got their kids. They went in, they had an argument. They said, hey, I am the...
Yeah, but like, this guy, that's his business. He's a divorce attorney. So the more people divorce, the more money he's going to have in his pocket. So he's doing accordingly, okay? It's not a good thing. But so Ruslan is... I can't even imagine this thing, right? Not even why didn't he ask him, like, okay, do you guys provide, they say, like, counseling for the kids after the fact, right? Do they offer counseling, like, before they go to before they go to court? And yes, he said he doesn't work for free. So if somebody comes in, even if the person had a good case, but because they don't have money, they cannot afford his services. So what do? You might as well just lose your children, right? But what about advocating for something else? Like, okay, you can't afford me, I can't pay you, but have you seek counseling? Have you seek, who is in your community? Things of that nature, right? So that, if things can be redeemed, so that they can be redeemed, right? But if people are non-believers, they're not going to honor marriage like that. So, I'm sure there are cases, like, I can't say that the, believers are not going to divorce. I'm sure there are circumstances, but the numbers are high for people who are not genuine believers. I see no reason why genuine believers are going to head down the divorce route. Okay? It can happen, but I'm sure that's exception. It's a few. But let's listen into the
primary care provider. This is how I take care of my kids. The kids want to stay with me, and they got the kids, right? And so I understand what you're saying. I understand that you're saying, hey, the odds are in our favor, this and this and this. But I'm saying empirically speaking, the numbers don't look like that. And then if we can escalate it to that point of, hey, I'm going to go fight for my kids, it doesn't sound like it's not in the man's favor. You're saying it's a financial thing. I'm saying, is that the only way to fight for your kids? Is you have to pay 100 bands and wipe out your life savings? I'm genuinely asking here.
Yeah, let me just tell you as an attorney, my favorite case. My favorite type of case in divorce cases is when I represent the woman and the man represents himself. Oh my God. Your best case, your anecdotal cases, that's my favorite case. And it's not only my favorite case, it's all attorneys' favorite case.
Because the woman has the means to pay for you as an attorney, and the man doesn't have the means to pay for you or pay a similar lawyer as you.
I'm going unopposed. I'm going to crush you. I'm going to crush you. There's no way you can't deal with AV who's in law school. Like a regular person can't go up against a law school student. And I've graduated law school, passed the bar, and been practicing for 20 years.
So we're talking about the 1.5% of cases where the woman has the means to hire someone like you, spend 70 bands to escalate it, to get it before a judge, to keep the kids from the husband.
No, we're not talking about that. I'm talking about cases where the father opts to not hire an attorney.
Which is on the father.
Correct.
Right. No, I'm sorry. You're talking about cases where I thought we backed up. I thought we were talking about cases where the father opts out of fighting for the kids at all and just gets what he can get. It's like that to me is an L. This like if you want to be in your kid's life, you have to actively pursue being in your kid's life.
This is so wrong. This is so wrong. I'm so glad you're saying this. This is so wrong. You have no idea how many men's lives have been destroyed financially trying to fight for something that you're not going to get.
Again, I'm just saying, all I could go off of is the data that I'm finding, and the data that I'm finding.
You're misinterpreting the data. That's what I'm telling you.
According to the data, the men have a better shot if they escalate. So I don't know how.
I'm telling you why.
You're saying
you're saying that you're reading the data, but you don't know the why. It's like, guys, you can read that 2 + 2 = 4, but you might not understand it. You might need someone to explain it to you. You're saying 2 + 2 = 4, but you might not understand why. You're reading the statistics, Ruslan, but I'm telling you why. Why is it that the majority of men do not go to court for these kids? It's because they're not going to get them. It would be.
So Ruslan put himself in a corner here, okay? So yes, he is reading the numbers that, okay, this is the amount of people who are getting divorced, right? So he's just saying the numbers. But the guy he's communicating with knows how to read those numbers. So that's a battle that he's not going to win on that front. That's why my issue with him, he should have stuck to what a biblical household should be, okay? The nuclear family. That's honoring God. That's sticking it together because God is marriage is God's idea, right? And it's for all. You don't have to be a believer to be married, right? Even non-believers, like it's for everybody because of what purpose it saved, right? For procreation and such. But if Ruslan had gone in with a biblical worldview of what marriage is, then the statistic wouldn't have mattered. Because he would have been given an example like, okay, so if you're giving all these particular example, but guess what? These are the situations at my church. You see what I'm saying? Many people are getting married. Or bring good stories about marriage. It's not all bad out here. It's not all bad out here. So I have a problem. People who don't defend godly things. Okay, God, especially if you're a Christian, like, no, you don't want to let people slander on marriage like that. Acknowledge the numbers, but bring in what the truth is. So they talked about beginning. Remember when they were talking about the environment, right? They say nuclear family is good, but the environment, okay? So the environment can be subjective, ladies and gentlemen. There is enough data to show that there were more nuclear families. People stayed in their families even during slavery in America, right? It's black communities. So they were in the harshest environment, but families stayed together. So comparing to the environment now and to comparing to environment then, which is a better environment? This time is a better environment than that particular time. So this time around, people should be staying married. But no, people are not staying married now, despite this so-called good environment. Okay? So environment can be subjective. And there it is. Just because the situations are bad, that doesn't mean divorce is the solution.
Or can I propose an alternative hypothesis?
Yeah.
Or is it that the men don't want their kids? Or is it the men aren't the primary care provider? Or is it the men don't have the emotional capacity to fight for their kids? Or is it because the men have moved on and maybe the man practiced hypergamy, found a younger, hotter wife, and they're ready to start a new family? Why are we not going to acknowledge that those scenarios happen? I see those happen a lot. I see a lot of single mothers around here that would love for the father to be in the picture, but the dad's checked out. The dad's moved on. Like, where's the responsibility on the men on this situation? I understand that the court system's not fair. You're way more astute to that. That's your line of work, your expertise. I'll defer to you. But I'm saying we can't say that all men always want their kids and always get a bad shot from the court system. It's hard for me to wrap my brain around that. Personally, anecdotally speaking.
Yeah. So fine. Why you? So he's deferring this to him, right? So I grant that he's a divorce attorney. He will be able to tell you what the numbers are. I'm cool with that issue. I understand that. Just like the doctor, right? He's the one who will be able to read the medical papers and tell you. Okay, we've been in this situation before. We have the science experts. What were they saying? Oh, you need to get what? A job, a booster, whatsoever. Right? They are the experts. But just because the experts have said things, that doesn't mean that's the final authority. That's the word. So what the lead attorney here said is correct, because he knows what those numbers are. So now Ruslan has found himself in a very bad situation. So we've left all the opportunities that he could have said something here, and he's back down with the statistics. Ladies and gentlemen, just because the statistics say XYZ, that doesn't mean good things are not happening somewhere else.
Knowing multiple single dads, and also from the data that I'm seeing.
Yeah, you're misinterpreting the data, and I think we haven't really talked about this, but it's true. There are men who do not like their kids. There are men who don't want to spend time with their kids. There are men who don't want to pay for their kids. There are men who don't want to see their kids. I represent all these men.
Mm-hmm. Can you give me a percentage if you're talking generally speaking from your experience?
Let me finish for a second, because this is very important. Okay. Because you want to talk about all these men not doing stuff. But it's interesting that you don't talk about the other side. Maybe you don't know. Let me finish.
I said that on the front end that my buddies took full custody of their kids.
And what did you say? You said that the women, they didn't use drugs or anything like that, so you're not talking about it.
That doesn't mean they were the most competent mothers either.
If you could let me finish, maybe you could hear. You're talking about these two gentlemen that won custody of their kids with no attorneys, and the mother weren't on drugs or anything. That's what you said. Let me tell you something about the other side, which you don't want to talk about. There are some shitty moms, and I know that because I represent them.
Guys.
Of course, there are moms that have physically abused their kids. There are moms that abandon their kids. There are moms that neglect their kids. Yes. And so, if you have shitty fathers, then guess what? You also have, since fathers are humans, guess what mothers are? Mothers are humans too. So you have shitty moms. Mm-hmm. So if you have shitty moms and you have shitty fathers, why is it that 90% of the women have primary custody when the moms are shitty too? Mm-hmm. This is what you need to analyze when you're looking at your numbers. Guys, if you don't really practice in the space, you just look at the numbers, you have no idea what you're looking at. You're like, why is it if men and women can be equally good or equally bad, you would think that the numbers would be more 50-50, wouldn't you? Obviously, there are shitty moms, but why is it that 90% of the moms get primary custody? This is what you don't see when you look at the numbers if you don't have an understanding.
Can I push back?
Yeah.
Is it possible that the mothers tend to be the primary care providers already, that the kids are already with the mother more of the time, that they're already under the mother's house, that they're already under the mother's regiment, that right there, most kids up until the age of 10 are closer to their mother. So it would make sense, considering both parents are equally terrible, crappy parents, it would make sense that the mothers would get that situation by default.
This is so ridiculous. No, there are millions and millions of great fathers.
I didn't say there were millions and millions of great fathers. That's not what I said. What I said was, equally speaking, there's bad mothers and there's bad fathers. If it's defaulting, whether the dad doesn't want to fight for custody, whether the dad doesn't want to go to court, whether the dad doesn't have the means to court, if it's defaulting, you could also say, well, the mothers, if we're all going to be honest, we tend to be primarily raised by our mothers up until the age of 5 to 10. In the situations where we're not, we see other scenarios where the dad gets full custody.
I would never ever agree that the disparity in the primary physical custody awards that you see in this nation is because of, you're saying that the mothers are the primary caregivers, not to 90%. That is not. I have no idea. But not enough. I know it's not enough to justify 90%.
I'm saying 90% if we factor in primary care provider, 90% because that's
where are you factoring in the shitty moms?
I'm saying if both parents are equally bad.
No, let's look at the 90% for a second.
Yeah, the 90% that we agree don't go to court. You just said that, hey, you're technically correct based on the data. So if we're talking about the 90% that don't ever see a courtroom, and the majority of those are going to the mother, and I'm saying because the mother is the primary care provider. Second to, the father's maybe not fighting for the custody of the child. Not because they even got to speak to an attorney and the attorney told them it's going to be $100,000. Maybe they just don't even have the capacity to go and be the primary care provider for their kid. Because they're working 50 hours a week.
I think we're speaking around each other, and I can't really figure out where it is. Mm-hmm. But if this system were fair, let's start from there. Let's start from there. Do you think that the system is fair towards men?
In this specific capacity?
Towards receiving shared custody of their kids.
Based on the data I've seen, and again, I'm just going off the data I'm seeing. This is my first time interacting with a family court attorney, so I may be ignorant of your expertise and what you know. So from the data I've seen and from the experiences I've had, I know substantially more single dads who are out here crushing it than I know deadbeat dads. So so I can only go off of the data that I'm looking at and the personal interactions I have with single fathers.
Let me just re-ask you the question because I don't think you answered it. Mm-hmm. Do you think that the family court system is fair to men?
I don't know. It's not my area of expertise. I'm being honest with you. I don't know.
No, that's fair. Yeah. That's
fair. I'm asking you. I'm also not trying to be combative.
So the subject has gone all over the place here, as you can see, even from where we started. It was men. It's okay for men to be cheating. A man can cheat on his wife. that doesn't mean the man doesn't love his children. So this is where everything started, and now we're here. So all along, there was plenty of opportunity time where this conversation could have moved in a different area, not where it's at right now, okay? So as far as the numbers is concerned, Ruslan is not going to win on that one. So like he kept on it, but he doesn't have anything to back it up with. So now he's at the mercy of whatever the leader Tony is going to say. So for even if the leader Tony lies, Ruslan won't be able to counter that. Okay, so yes, he's a learned man, but like if you're standing on what the truth is, right, the word of God, then it doesn't matter what qualification the person you're speaking to has. But Ruslan already gave up his authority, so now he's in all over the place. So wait for it, ladies and gentlemen. Okay.
I'm asking you questions because I'm trying to process all of the information that I'm seeing and that I'm reading that is completely opposite of the stuff that I'm hearing in this sort of narrative that paints the court system as unfair. I think
it's not opposite. You're just not understanding what you're looking at. That's why I'm trying to explain it to you.
Or maybe the court system, even though it's extremely flawed, which I'm sure we could all agree, is also trying to figure out the optimal and best case scenario for a child and where should they be placed. And usually tends to be with the mother, even though that's probably not always fair. I'm saying it's complicated. I'm saying it's nuanced. I don't know. Based on the empirical evidence and based on my own experiences with single dads, I've seen many men go and fight for their kids and get 50% custody, get 75% custody, get their kids 5 days a week. The mom gets them.
You're saying that you see.
So even Ruslan as well, we agree, like, you know, because family is a foundation of society, right? So, you know, we don't want these divorces to be happening because they bring havoc in families, especially to children. So that's been established. Both of them agree on that. But he keeps going on with this issue like, oh, you know, in an optimal environment. So you just wait for it, what he means by optimal environment. Even for Ruslan's view, it's all materialistic. You got to have money. No money, forget about it.
Many men get 75% custody. How many is many, Ruslan?
A dozen. I know a dozen folks at my church that have their kids for 75% of the time.
All right. Were the moms shitty moms?
Both moms and dads were crappy parents. Nobody was on drugs in these situations. There was definitely adultery committed, but nobody was out here strung out on crack or anything like that.
How were they?
So there you have it. According to Ruslan, he knows 12 people at his church. And drugs were not involved, nothing else, you know. The mother was not so good mom. The dad was not so good mom, a good dad. And these people are going to the church where he's going at. So my question is this. What exactly is happening in that environment? I don't know, because I'm just taking for his word, right? So are these 12 people, are they genuine followers of Christ? Are they real believers? Why is it that the solution they came to ended up in divorce? Given that from what he's saying, there was no drugs involved. Okay, so I take it no violence involved. So what is it that caused them to divorce? So what is it that they are learning at their church about what marriage is? Because there are certain things like, okay, you know what I mean? You are going to, you know, like, hey, man, got a ring over here for the rest of my life, okay? Married to my husband, okay? So it's just like, man, it's just like, okay, this is a commitment that you've made, okay? So you are living with with another human being. Okay? So why is it that these people are getting the advice that, okay, you know, go and get divorced? Yes, fine, the father got the custody of the kids, but they agree that the good environment is for mom and dad. So why are they advocating for these people to separate? Did they try? Because I didn't hear any of that, especially him speaking from evidence, right? He didn't say like, oh, you know what? We tried for this, but the only thing is they're just looking for divorce attorney. So
Shitty moms.
let's listen.
I mean, when adultery's involved, I think that's pretty crappy to me. If someone's cheating on each other, if someone's not is being inconsistent, I think that's pretty crappy. Sometimes the moms check out too.
Guys, listen, this is another thing that we need to combat. You know, just because you commit infidelity does not mean you're a shitty parent. You can cheat on your wife and be the best father ever. You can cheat on your wife one time and really love your kids. Don't let anybody tell you.
My presupposition is that the nuclear family is the bedrock of our civilization. So if somebody steps out on the very foundation of what makes the optimal environment for a child, I think that's very problematic.
Well, and see, that's another thing, right? Because you're assuming that two particular individuals raising a child is the optimal environment. And I'm telling you as a divorce attorney that it's not. I also mediate cases. I have the highest certification to mediate.
Okay, so we I know Lindsay. You know, I already did this video again. Ruslan, these are the opportunities for him to plug in. Nothing. He's letting this guy pretty much, just say whatever he says to say. Now, I do see that Ruslan was mixing categories over here, right? The husband and wife, that's a different relationship compared to the children. So if, just because a man has cheated doesn't mean that he doesn't love his kids, okay? Because the issue is with the wife, not with the children, right? Different types of love per Greek language, right? So we know we just use the term love. We understand what that means like in English. But the love that a parent has towards the kids is not the same love between husband and wife, right? Husbands are told to die for their wives, But Ephesians 5, but be that as it may, Ruslan still had an opportunity over here, but he didn't use that. So he's running back to that issue like, okay, we need a nuclear family is a bedrock. We agree on that issue. But what type of families are we trying to bring to bear? Okay? So you need a household to be a godly household. You need a home to be a godly home in order for those things to be possible. Case example, like what happened, we have Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. So what environment is that, right? They have everything, but these people are not together. So can we sit here and say that Kim doesn't love her kids? Can we say that Kanye doesn't love his kids? No. But them two, they are no longer together, which means they stopped loving each other. You know what I'm saying? So that doesn't work. I understand what he's saying, but...
In the state. I'm a specialized domestic violence mediator. I will tell you that there are some people, there are men and women together that should not be together.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not talking about the divergence. I'm talking about optimally what's best for the child, considering people are functional, stable humans.
Well, this is what goes back to infidelity. Sometimes men step out of their relationships because they have a shitty wife, but that does not mean that they don't love their kids.
I didn't say they don't love their kids.
It sounded to me like you said that if a man commits infidelity, then he's disturbing the foundation of the nuclear family.
I would say men and women. Yes, I would say when you are literally tampering with your marriage vows.
He did say that, and then he's coming back saying that he didn't say that. So
then yes, I think that's a low integrity thing to do, unless it's like some other arrangement. If you're stepping out on your spouse, regardless of the circumstances, I think counseling comes before that. I think therapy comes before that. I think we go deal with the issues in a marriage before we start cheating on each other. Why is that unreasonable?
It's absolutely.
Finally, he mentions now we need therapy, but he says you need to do the therapy first before. Oh, man. All right. I'm going to forward it a little bit because everything they're discussing here, I did discuss it in the other video. So no need to repeat what has already been said. But there's some interesting part a little bit. The other video that I did, it's talking about this issue. They went back and forth discussing this marriage situation.
But I'll pour. There was no prenup. My wife has helped me build up the business. She's created an amazing, stable home.
Okay. I rewinded it a little bit because this is what I didn't wanted. All right.
And what you kind of talked about is there some resources you can send me? I would love to get educated. I'm not saying that disingenuously. I really mean that.
No, I mean, I'm sure I could, to be honest, man, but it's like if you just Google this stuff, right?
I have. I'm telling you, I have. I really went down the rabbit hole of this entire men lose 80%, 90% of the custody, and the first thing I found is 97%.
Google. Let me tell you something. Google some stuff that is made by male divorce attorneys. Okay. All right. Not some stuff.
Any names that you could recommend? A specific men attorney?
Okay. Because we're doing it. We're not in the laboratories trying to put all these damn statistics together. We're in the trenches fighting.
That's fair. So is your logical?
But why is Ruslan interested about this? Getting the information about the divorce attorney for what purpose? For what reason? Man, hey man.
Conclusion then, because 90% of custodies go to women, right? That don't see the court and they've been kind of relinquished or they don't fight because they don't have the money. Is the conclusion usually go to therefore men shouldn't get married? Because that's what I hear from the Rallos and the Perligans. It's not a fair deal, quote unquote.
No. Okay. That's completely different. I think men should get married under a number of circumstances.
Okay. What would those be for you?
Well, it just depends. If a man, if a man was making $40,000 a year and then somehow, some way, Oprah fell in love with him, and that man wants to marry Oprah, like I have no problem. No prenup, baby. No prenup. That's exactly right. Okay, I see men that get married all the time for immigration benefits. Okay. I see men that get married all the time in the military. If you've ever been in the military, if you know anyone is in the military, they can tell you all about these contract marriages.
I'm right next to Kemp Pendleton, so I'm very familiar with that.
All about it. I see men that get married for religious reasons, men that get married for cultural reasons. I see men that get married because they're disabled and they need help. There are so many, I call them off-label uses of marriage. And if we're honest, guys, I don't even like to tell you guys this. If we're honest, love is an off-label use of marriage, right? Because that's not how marriage started. Marriage started to bring families together to conserve wealth. This love thing is like, like it wasn't a part of it. You can name 10, 15 reasons to get married. right? So if a man says, I want to get married, I don't know which one of those 10 or 15 reasons that he's choosing to get married. Oftentimes it's multiple ways. I look at this stuff so much more nuanced than you guys, right? So much more nuanced than people in the red pill community, because like they don't know, they just haven't seen it, right?
Yeah.
So my
Ruslan just agrees to everything. Like, yeah, is it true that people out there are getting married for whatever the reason? Yes, it's true. There's people who just gonna get married for, I need this, whatever, right? You saving the papers. That people do that. But at that point, Ruslan should have said those people are abusing the institution. Okay, those are not the reasons. People getting married for those reasons are wrong, and they're sinning against the author of marriage. Another opportunity that Ruslan could have plugged in what marriage is. He could have plugged in like, no, that dishonors God. If you get married, that's marriage, okay? And you're getting married, you have all these hidden agendas and everything else. God sees, and you will give an account for those things. You will give an account for those things. So I don't understand how Ruslan is just there, just drinking the Kool-Aid from the lawyer himself. But here we are.
My view is extremely nuanced. By the
You're not anti-marriage.
Not at all.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, so we agree marriage.
But I'm not anti-divorce either. Like I'm not anti-marriage. I'm not anti-divorce. I'm pro-marriage. I'm pro-divorce. I am pro whatever will improve your life. Right.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So he's a divorce attorney, but he's for marriage. Like, what does that even mean? Okay, what does that even mean? So you can't be buying this issue. Okay, this is like, okay, he's a married bachelor. That's what he's saying. Because I find it hard to believe that's what he's saying. Because he actually said if somebody comes to him and they cannot afford him, he's not going to do anything for them because he doesn't work for free. So if he is for pro marriages, right? What is he doing about it? Why can't he take that case, whatever, pro bono, whatever it is, right? Practice what he's preaching. And Ruslan is not even critiquing this guy. So he's just having his day. He's saying whatever he's saying, zero pushback. But this guy, he's pushing back at Ruslan at every turn. So I don't know what happened, but
but I am pro prenup. I'm pro protect yourself. Absolutely. I'm pro making informed decisions.
Amen.
Right? If you can make informed decisions and you can protect yourself, that is the best case scenario. Will it guarantee anything? No.
Yeah.
There's no guarantees.
So do you think prenups are essential for someone like me, where we got married, both started out with nothing, both started out poor. There was no prenup. My wife has helped me build up the business. She's created an amazing, stable home. My kids get homeschooled, meals. She stays at home. I go get the bag. You know what I mean? In our situation, we don't have a prenup, nor do I want one. Because it's kind of after the fact, right? 18 years later. But do you think in a situation where two people are starting and doing the IKEA marriage situation, would you still recommend a prenup?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
yes. Even if they don't really have anything, because number one, you never know what you could have. Okay. But number two, just to remove some of the unfairness, even if your prenup just has two clauses, the first clause is so important: no alimony. If you want to split everything, half-see, 50-50, fine. We work together and we build it all together. Fine. You take half of my stuff, I take half of your stuff. Fine. Guess what? When we're divorced, we're divorced. Why the hell am I sending you $3,300 payments month after month when you're having sex with someone else, right? Also, everybody pays their own attorney's fees, right? Because if and I've been the benefactor of this. If I represent your wife, Ruslan, and I know that you're paying the fees, they might get ran up. They might get ran up because Ruslan got it.
So, according to Ruslan, he's not going to do the prenup. Praise God, he's not going to do it because he said it's 18 years. It's too late. So if it was 2 years, would he have done it? What about 6 months? Would he have done it? Why would you want to do it? Because when you're married to somebody, it's for the tradition, right? It's for richer, for poor. And you become one flesh. So even right now, like whenever you have a bad credit, you get married to somebody, that bad credit does transfer to that particular person, okay? So this understanding of like everything that you own, your wife owns it, the husband also owns it, it's together. Now I do agree that, okay, if the divorce has taken place and the wife is with someone else, another husband, then the husband is no longer responsible. The new husband is responsible for that issue. But I do not advocate for Christians to be doing this, whatever prenup, because which means you have something that's exclusive to you only that your partner has no access to. And that should not be so amongst marriage. So these are the things that the tradition has taken in. Even Christians are being influenced by this.
about it, right? So a prenup protects you from people like me, right? You need that protection. Right?
That's
So,
good. No, that's good.
so these are some of the things. There's nothing wrong.
So it seems like the biggest thing for you is the alimony and the legal fees. Those are the two big things that, like, if something were to ever happen, those things shouldn't be, one party shouldn't be handling it.
Generally, if it depends on the case. If we're talking about two 22-year-olds who don't have anything and they want to get married, fine. But things.
Well, I mean, that was a situation. I was 23, my wife was 21.
There you go.
So if you, so just say, let's just flash back 15 years ago. Me and you were hanging out. We're friends. We're friendly. We end up at a restaurant, and I'm like, man, I'm getting married in 6 months, or I'm about to propose. Would this be something that you would have brought up to me 15 years ago?
100%.
Wow. Okay.
100%. Because if for some reason your wife decides to cash you out, 18 years, does she work outside the home?
No, that's what I mean. Like in our
Jesus
situation,
Christ.
but like, what's the so this is how I see it, and maybe this is very blue pill of me. But my wife has also put her career on hold. My wife has also passed up a ton of opportunity. My wife has also passed up, you know what I mean? Like, she's been the primary care provider, right? So if I were to have a prenup, hypothetically, when we didn't have anything, we built a whole life together. One of the reasons why I'm successful, and I have no problem saying this, is because I have a stable, loving marriage. I don't have a sexless marriage. I'm in an amazing union.
I hope you guys caught that, right? So Ruslan, this is what he's saying himself. His wife gave up everything, gave up the opportunities. That's what he said. To stay home. So just listen this, okay?
That allows me to go out and do the things that I'm able to do, make the kind of money that I'm able to make. So why would I not want her to be taken care of, right? Why would I want, are you following along what I'm saying? Like, if we were to separate, like, she's taken the bigger L financially in her entire trajectory of her life, had she not married and been a mom and been a stay-at-home wife.
So why don't you just control that? Why are you?
You heard that? So Ruslan said that this is him saying over here, I'm just quoting him. I don't want him to be accusing me of dragging his wife to this situation. He said it himself, that his wife took a loss, basically, right? To stay home, to take care of the kids, to homeschool, and to give up her career. That's why she's home, and Ruslan is out there getting a bag. Ladies and gentlemen, she hasn't given up anything. What she's doing is the most important thing than the so-called things that the career that's outside there. The fact that Ruslan doesn't know that, doesn't see that, that is the problem why he is advocating for these people to be signing the prenup. That is precisely the problem, that not even 1 second this guy defended marriage. So according to him, because now he has the bag, therefore the wife is staying home. Ladies and gentlemen, the women who are staying home, you don't want to stay home because there's money. Because when the money is gone, then what happens? You want to stay home because you are staying home. You that's your calling. You want to take care of your home. You're homeschooling your children. That's the best. There's so many people who would love to be in that particular situation. For whatever the reason, they are not in that situation. So what she's doing is a beautiful thing. She's staying home. She stays home. Financially, they can afford it. She's homeschooling. Those are beautiful things. She hasn't given up anything. Because what else is there out there? She would have had a corner office. And then what? How many women right now do have the corner office, don't have kids, don't have a husband, and they're even regretting that? Why? Because they wasted their time. Men came along, but they were too busy building their career. Now they're out there. You see what I'm saying? So like this idea to be looking at staying home is less than, it's very bad, especially coming from Christians. And then even promoting this idea of people should be getting a prenup. Okay, so you want to get a prenup because you're making money, right? So what happens for whatever the reason you can't make that money anymore and you sign that prenup? Then that woman will be like, okay, so you're not able to bring the money anymore. We sign the prenup. Adios. You see what I'm saying? So these are the things that it's okay when the money is coming in. People want to add in these foreign ideas into their marriages, whatever. It's so wrong. But I'm so glad that he's finding out about this prenup in this situation 18 years later, and his wife is holding it down at home. So my appeal to Ruslan is for him to understand what does it, these things biblically speaking, what does it mean? Because he didn't defend the marriage, and then right now he's looking at his wife like, oh, you know what, she gave up everything. I'm the one who's earning more money. I'm the one who's bringing more money. Like, no. You're out there, you're able to do those things because your wife is at home, she's doing what she's doing. So whatever you're owning, she's also owning the same thing. So this prenup business,
are you letting some 70-year-old man determine how much your wife, the love of your life, why are you letting this man determine how much support you are going to give? You're your own man, right?
What do you mean by 7-year-old? Are you talking about the court system?
I'm talking about that damn judge who's going to put that alimony on your ass. Why don't, if you're such the man and you love your wife so much, why don't you put in the prenup how much alimony you're going to pay her?
Well, I'm asking these things because I think if someone's independently wealthy, I would be 100% with you. If I'm 30 and someone's worth a couple M's, I would be like, yes, this is a no-brainer. I'm asking these questions because I'm genuinely curious if you would have given me the same advice 15 years ago as a 23-year-old kid.
100% put zero alimony. And if you guys get married in 18 years and she puts her life on hold and all this and all.
Why would you want to get an advice about marriage from a divorce attorney? Why would you want to get advice about marriage, somebody who does not honor Christ? Why would you get marriage from somebody who is out there promoting what God hates? Ladies and gentlemen, and you are a Christian for that matter, you tell me that there is no godly man in Ruslan's life where he can seek good godly counsel? What about the scriptures? At the very least, if he doesn't have any answers, what about search the scriptures, right? Everything that pertains to life and godliness, it's there. So this is horrible and this is bad. And he has a very huge following, and this is what he's out here promoting. Just like, no, you are to leave the inheritance for your great-great-grandchildren. So now if you're out here like holding on whatever piece that you have, like, when we all die, we're not going we're not taking anything with us, right? We came empty, we're going empty. So, but
all that, well, guess what? She gets 50% and you get 50%. But guess what you can do, Ruslan? You can send her checks. You determine how much you're going to pay. You determine how many months you're going to pay. You can pay 12 months. You can pay 24 months. You can pay 36 months, 48 months. You can pay 60 months, 72 months. You determine. You don't let some old man in a robe determine how much you are going to support your ex-wife. Right? So there's nothing saying, oh, well, she sacrificed herself for the kids and now, she's not getting any support. No, you support her. The thing is, you're your own man. You're in control of your destiny. So you decide how much you're going to support her. You determine what your alimony payments are going to be. And just go from there.
Of course, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I'll be honest with you. You just changed my mind about prenups. I think that's very fair.
There we go. Changing one mind at a time. That's what we're doing on the channel.
That's a W. I think that's a very fair point. I think when you have the religious dynamic involved, that could be a tricky conversation. Even when you talk about prenups at all, which Hafiz is not anti-prenup, but even when we talk about prenup, we get a lot of pushback from the faith-based community. But I think that's a fair point. Hey man, that's a W. I got.
You heard that, ladies and gentlemen? Faith-based community, he gets pushback. But this unbeliever has just convinced Ruslan that, you know what, prenup? Yeah. Prenup, yeah.
And let me say this too, because, I'm going to let you pull rank because I already stated in the beginning, like, I'm, faith-based stuff, man. I'm a spectator, right? Can you explain to me what the pushback is from the faith-based community against prenups? I
think it's hey, if something is a covenant and you're already pledging the rest of your life and divorce will never be an option, why do you even need to have these sorts of conversations? That's kind of like the pushback, even though I'm not sure if you're familiar with who Dave Ramsey is, but Dave Ramsey also recommends prenups for people that are financially independently wealthy.
Oh really? I know he's really paid.
Yeah.
Why? So he said, I think it's because of this, right? What about the scriptures? Why can't you say it's because of the scriptures? It's because marriage is God's idea. That's why people don't do these things. God hates divorce. That's why people don't do these things. It's not in keeping with, that says the Lord. This is the cultural things. Not only that, and then he invokes Dave Ramsey. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't care what Dave Ramsey says. What does the Bible say about this issue? And the fact that Ruslan doesn't even have that grounded in scripture, it's a problem. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's gotten pushback for that as well. He's gotten backlash for that as well. So Dave Ramsey recommends. I don't quite understand. I had a pastor come on my channel and we had this exact conversation. And I laid out, hey, like if someone's out here worth a couple M's, if someone's independently wealthy, why would you not want them to protect themselves if something were to go wrong? And
so if somebody's out here independently with you have more millions, you need your protection to your money. You need your protection to your money to your wife. Then why get married? Then don't get married. Have your fill of your money and be with it. So these are the same things that the secular people are doing, and then the Christians are also doing these things. Or what? Protecting yourself for what? From what? Why?
He agreed. Like the pastor agreed, Dave Ramsey agreed. So I think it could just be triggering for women. I think this is some of that third and fourth wave feminism. If we're honest, like I think there's some of that. Like
wait.
Oh, so no feminism detected out here, okay? But no, it's not about that. To me, just like, no. How can you justify this prenup, right? So the example that I have over here is, the story of Ananias and Sapphira, right? What happened? They had their own, they sold their land, okay? And they decided to keep back a little bit, right? And what happened when they did that?
It's some of that.
Okay.
Pastors are against it.
the husband went to Peter first. You know, Peter is asking. I'm paraphrasing over here. Okay, this is in Acts. Everybody should know. Everybody knows the story of Ananias and Sapphira. I don't have to read it, but anyway, you have the story of Ananias and Sapphira, right? Ananias told Peter, like, oh no, we didn't sell anything for much and everything. Then Peter said, so why have you lied to the Holy Spirit? And he died over there. Then the wife comes along. And when the wife came, when Peter is asking, Peter is not asking her, saying like, oh, how much money did your husband sold? What about your husband belongings whatsoever? Peter asking her, like, okay, so what did you do? You know, as if she owns the thing herself, the same way she did with the husband. And then lo and behold, the same fate for husband happened to her. So if this idea of like, okay, you know what, he's rich, he owns this thing, does not belong to the wife, only belongs to the man, you have tough time proving that biblically speaking. On a secular world stage, oh yeah, go for it. That's what people do. But we are in this world, but not of this world. So our standard is the scriptures, right? We draw our examples from the Bible, not what these the prenup lawyers are going to be advocating. If you have millions or you have less, it doesn't matter. So which means you're putting your value based upon the amount of dollar that you have. This is the same standard that they do in Hollywood. As believers, your identity is not in the things that you have. Your identity is in Christ, not how much money you have in your bank account, not your wealth, or you are independent, you have all these couple meals. That doesn't mean nothing, okay? That's what Jesus said to that rich man, right? You know, to the very night, your life will be required of you. And then what?
We're going to see how far we get. All right. We're going to see how far we get. Shout out.
And the rest of it.
Let me ask you, how much you mentioned a man giving the wife, you know, the opportunity to work in the home is something that's very important. Let's say a man has, you know, 3 kids. You got 3 kids and a wife. How much does this man need to make? Because you also said, you know, you need to be financially stable. How much does a man need to make for the wife to feel like she's financially stable with her not working and 3 kids in the home?
I would say in California, which is my reference, I would say minimal 120. Minimal 120.
In California? So like
in Southern California, minimum 120.
So how much is 120 like after taxes? Like 85?
No, 120 after tax, 85.
90?
Oh.
How much is it after taxes?
Well, I don't know the exact.
Probably like 90 to be honest.
I'd say it's closer to.
So you see now he's even showing more that everything is just is boiling down to money. So you are telling me that people, if you're not able to make that type of money, your marriage is not secure, your kids are not fine, your wife is not fine because you're not making 120, 160K. If you make less than that, that's not good. I mean, there's nothing wrong in making more money. But if you're determining that this is what guarantees that the marriage is going to stay, that's so wrong. Because if that was the case, then there will be no divorces in Hollywood. Because people out there, they've got money, okay? Look at all these rich people. Bill Gates, right? Is divorced. Jeff Bezos, same thing, is divorced. So we know there is scores of rich people who've been married multiple times. But this is the example that Ruslan is giving, grounding that marriage is going to stay because if there is a bigger bank account. What about the word of God? You'll be telling people like, no, if people are getting married, we don't want you to get married unequally yoked. We want believers to get married to believers. So you can avoid some of these things. No, that's not good enough for Ruslan.
100. Maybe I'm wrong, but let's just so yeah. I'm sorry. I'm also self-employed, so I don't know the exact numbers. I'll say in quality of life in San Diego, to live, to be able to buy a home, to be able to go on vacation, to be able to let the wife stay home, you need to be taking home, I'd say at least 10 bands a month. So you take home 120. So 150. Let's just call it 150.
Okay, 150.
Yep.
Take home 150.
That's in San Diego. San
Diego. So you take home 150 in San Diego?
You gross 150, you take home 120, and then again, if you're in Vegas, you can do that for less. If you're in Alabama, it could be way less. If you're in, you know what I mean, Nebraska, if you right, there's other places that the cost of living is way cheaper. It's our rent, our mortgages, it's ridiculously expensive here.
Yeah.
Would you disagree? Would you say 150 is not enough?
I don't know. I'm scared to go out to damn San Diego, man. I
Come
heard
go to
things
San Diego.
about y'all,
If you got time, let me take you out to get some Mexican food. I can't eat any of it right now, but I'll take you out to get some great Mexican food, and I'll walk you through how we live, and I'll show you the house to wear an escrow in, and let you, it ain't glitz and glam. Your place in Georgia is probably way bigger than mine, but that's about what we,
Oh, in Georgia, if you're making 150, man, Georgia. I mean, there's a reason why all these people from New York and everybody.
Yeah, everybody going to y'all in Texas.
Yeah, Georgia's cheap as hell.
Yeah. I'm not a pastor in tax exempt, by the way. Whoever said that in the chat. I do have pastors that do that though.
Are you a pastor as well?
No, I'm not a pastor. I have no desire to pastor a local church. I have a lot of friends that are pastors, and I love the platform pastors to get people in churches, but I'm not a pastor.
Gotcha. And then you said.
So now everything has boiled down to material things and it's money. Before it was all about, statistics, is this, is that. Ladies and gentlemen, what happened like in the scripture, Gideon, right? God told him to winnow down his army to 300. The statistics were not in his favor, okay? You have David out there. His statistics were not in favor. So this idea of just plugging in things that are godly with worldly numbers, it doesn't make no sense. So I don't know why Ruslan has found himself in this situation.
Kind of bring it back, because I think we've had a really fruitful discussion. Let me give a quick shout out to AV to the 7th power coming in heavy handed.
Yeah, that's a big one. Wow.
Listen, that's what she said. All right, shout out to AV.
Fellow attorney.
Yeah, she is awesome.
Going to debate and have studies and slides and be able to articulate the way you do, the way Hafiz does. So I think that was my impression.
Oh my God, you're comparing me to Hafiz? Jesus Christ.
You give him my man work. I thought Hafiz did a great job, man. I think I would love to.
Let me ask you this, the Dunning-Kruger
this
effect, right? It's like when people
just,
know a little bit about something and their confidence is so high.
Let's see if he added something
Yeah,
else.
the idea. And he said, yeah, that's my idea too. And he's okay, well, what do you think about AV is hugely special to Kevin Samuels? Hugely.
Yeah. So, that is the rest of the time they were just talking about this guy. His name is Hafiz. He's also friends with Ruslan. He's 32 years old. He's been married less than 2 years. But he's out there wanting to equip men. That's fine if you want to, whatever equipment. But he's out there. You can't be giving. You've been married. You're still in honeymoon. So you can't be giving people marriage advice. It's just like, And the numbers that Ruslan is plugging in are pretty much from this Hafiz guy. So, and in the end, Ruslan ended up even just telling the guy that, you should, give me your number. There's nothing wrong if people are giving each other's numbers, right? Networking and everything. When you come to San Diego, I'm going to show you around and everything. So all that in the end, it boils down to Ruslan got a win by getting the leader Tony phone number. He's going to be in San Diego this month end, and Ruslan has extended, you should come, we should hang out and everything else. That's it. You see what I'm saying? So, yes, he's going to be friends with this guy. But he had all this opportunity to plug in to share the gospel. He didn't do it. So now, if you're sitting in, you're having lunch, you're having the so-called Mexican food, how are you going to tell him the good news of the kingdom? How are you going to tell him the gospel? Because he has already told you, no, I don't want to deal with this Jesus thing, and you've already given up. But the whole time, this guy is invoking his what? His credentials as a lawyer. So he used his scriptures as a lawyer, but he didn't want Ruslan to use his scriptures as a Christian. And he gave up that sword. That part, I can't get over that issue. I cannot get over that issue. I cannot get over that issue. Okay? I cannot get over that issue. Yeah? I would have been raised to use the experience. Yes. I know, Lindsay. Yeah. So it's just like, no, it's a... I know so many people who made that decision, and they actually, you know what? I don't know why it took me so long. I don't know what I was doing out there. So so I don't like it every time when people see people who are staying home doing that as women giving up, listen, no, it is not. They're doing exactly what God has called them to do, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. As long as your home is in order, that's just it, Yeah, that doesn't mean that women cannot work, but your priority is at home. So if the opportunities are there, everything is locked down, that's good. That's pleasing to the Lord. Yeah, man. So this is what happened. I appreciate you guys for hanging in. The other time I was busy just talking, but the video wasn't even playing and I didn't even know. But thank you guys for staying for staying on. I'm just going to leave all the links in the description below. That way you guys, can listen to it. There's so many things that I didn't even share for the lack of time, But it's just like so many things, I was prepared. I wrote everything down. I'm like, no. So this is a textbook example of things not to do that Ruslan has done. Okay. Because, so he got it, he got that connect, baby, that connect. All right, guys, I do appreciate you for spending your Friday night with me. I thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe. Shout out to Lindsay, Eric. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for the super chat, David. Pastor E was in the house. Thank you, Pastor E. I'm curious, Pastor E, what is your view about the prenup about Christians? Because Ruslan claims that pastors have sided about it's fine. I disagree with that. So, Pastor E, I would like to know what your take is on that part. Okay. All right. Oh, something about J-Mac? Still not feeling good? So, be sure to pray for Pastor J-Mac. If it was in the chats, I didn't see anything. Shout out to Brianna. Thank you, Jimajo. Thank you, David. Yes, guys, pray for Pastor John MacArthur. He's not feeling well, okay? We need to pray for the giant of faith. We need him. Some more time, please, Lord. Some more time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all that I had for you guys today. I hope you find this to be informative to you. I'm looking forward to seeing your comments. Let me know what you guys think. Ruslan, if by any chance you ever see this, I encourage you to have a good, solid biblical what marriage is. You need to get that. Just saying he's a priest, provider, and protector, those are just words. But if you're not grounding those things with the scripture, it doesn't mean anything. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, remember, theology matters.